on that movie mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1953 French comedy Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. Yes, I will be joining you as long as you enjoy this movie. I am reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating Rotten Tomatoes. I will give them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1953 with Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. This movie stars Jacques Tati, who wrote, directed, and stars in this movie, and also recently reviewed another movie in which he wrote, directed, and starred in, and that was Joe de Fête. This movie was also nominated for Best Writing Screenplay at the Academy Awards. So when this movie starts, we're introduced to Monsieur Hulot. He is a beachgoer. He kind of shows up to this beach resort in a beat-up car with a really funny horn. So you kind of get the idea of who this guy is going to be. He doesn't really take himself too seriously. He's, he definitely has an idea of what he wants to do while he's there, but he doesn't do any of it well, and he kind of fumbles over everything, and he causes a bunch of chaos, but he doesn't mean to cause this chaos. It just kind of happens naturally. The first kind of scene we see of this where his chaos, he starts to cause this chaos, is when he arrives at the beach resort. Now, when he gets there, he opens the door, and just this huge bunch of wind comes to the beach resort and just blows everything around, and just everything is crazy.
Les travaux de l'Assemblée nationale entrent dans leur dernière phase. On sait en effet que les vacances parlementaires sont fixées au 30. 21 députés sont présents dans l'hémicycle. Le discours que le sous-secrétaire d'État au budget a prononcé à Nœux-les-Mines.
And what makes this pretty funny is that before he enters the beach resort, when he's outside, there's really no wind at all. And then when other people are coming in, they also don't cause this problem. So this is really just a problem that he is causing for no real reason, just because of who he is. So he causes all this chaos, and he causes all this wind to happen. Now, normally when I review a movie, I will go over the plot line. I'll kind of go over chronologically what happens in the movie, and the different plot elements and the different, what happens to each character. But this movie really has no plot elements. It really has no real character development at all. All it really is to kind of put Jacques Tati in a position where he can do physical comedy, or in which he can add some comedical pieces into the movie that are just really funny. And at the end of the movie, you end up having a full story about a guy who just was on vacation. So there's just a lot of random scenes of funniness in this movie. And I'll just go over the ones that I particularly thought were the best. So there's the running gag of the wind coming through the resort every time he walks through the door. I thought it was fantastic. It was hilarious every time I saw it. It reminds me a lot of the kind of comedy that Buster Keaton would do, or the kind of comedy that he was trying to do. For instance, in The Navigator, he had this ongoing gag where the wind would blow the hat off his head, and then he would have to find another hat, which I didn't find to be too particularly funny. But then in The Cameraman, he had an ongoing joke where he would constantly bust through glass doors with his camera because it was too long, which I thought was funnier. So these type of recurring jokes can be funny if they're done correctly, and I think that the wind blowing through the door is absolutely hysterical. Now, this beach resort is full of a lot of different characters, most of which are your stereotypical type of vacationers. You have one guy who is with his girlfriend, and he's kind of just reading from a book, and he's this bookworm, and he's kind of mansplaining to her what things mean and what the book means, and sort of he's kind of the enlightened guy on vacation who really can't dig himself out of his philosophy books, or whatever books he's reading. You have another guy who's just kind of this little skinny muscle beach kind of guy who is just exercising the entire time, and he's on the beach and he doesn't really do anything besides exercising. You have couples who just kind of look at the beach all day and don't do anything. So it's your stereotypical type of beachgoers, vacationers. But when Hulot shows up, he kind of causes a bunch of chaos and kind of turns this all around. Now, he doesn't mean to cause chaos. There's a character in this movie who's like the maitre d' at the restaurant at the resort, and he has this fascination with Hulot to where he thinks he's absolutely ridiculous because he's constantly bumbling and stumbling over things. But he is also intrigued at what's going on with Hulot. Like he can't stop watching as Hulot is doing weird things and tripping over himself and causing accidents. And he is so enthralled in what Hulot is doing that at one point he drops something in the fish tank, and he kind of pushes up his sleeve to grab something from the fish tank, but as he's watching the chaos happen, he puts the wrong hand in the fish tank, and it's the one that actually the sleeve was not rolled up on. Which I thought was absolutely hilarious. There's also a scene where, in the beginning of the movie, Hulot is trying to learn how to play tennis, or he's at least on the tennis court and he's trying to learn tennis. He's trying to play, and he's absolutely terrible. Every time the ball is hit to him, he misses the ball. Uh, but gradually throughout the movie off screen, because they don't really show him gradually getting better at the game, but later on in the movie, he's like pretty much a pro. And he has this really funny type of serve that he does, which confuses everyone. And everyone doesn't understand why he's serving the ball in this manner. And it makes him to be like the best tennis player at the resort. And everyone is just tired of playing him, and they give up and they go off and do other things, which I thought was, it gave me flashbacks of Forrest Gump, because there's a scene when Hulot is kind of playing tennis and the ball comes like off the table and he's playing like, and it harkens, I mean, I'm sure that, I mean, this was obviously before Forrest Gump, but it reminded me of when I saw Forrest Gump and that was happening. And I thought it was hilarious. I just couldn't stop laughing at it. There's also a scene later in the movie where Hulot is trying to give a ride to two women, and the tire ends up busting or goes flat. So he's trying to jack up the car, but as he's doing it, he's accidentally, like, the seats of these two women are going up and down instead of the car going up and down. This has been done a lot in recent movies, but this is probably one of the first times that this type of physical comedy was done then, and I thought it was great. There was another scene where Hulot is trying to he's trying to paddle a boat, and the boat ends up splitting in half for some reason. He like splits the boat in half as he's laying in it, which is great as well. But none of these all pale in comparison for me to the greatest scene, the greatest part of the movie. And it's actually a part that it's funny because it's so awkward, and I was like hiding my head the whole time. And this is a scene where they are driving and they accidentally get a flat tire, and it's at a funeral procession. So they are at like a church where a funeral is being held, and he takes off the tire to change it, and when he takes off the tire, it falls into the leaves, and leaves form all around this tire and stick to the tire. Well, the guy who's in charge of taking like the reefs and that are donated for the funeral, he comes over and he takes it because he thinks it's one of the reefs. Because it has leaves all over it. Oh my god, I couldn't stop laughing at this scene. I had to pause the movie because it was so funny. And then later on, when they're actually having the funeral, the tire starts deflating, and you just hear it deflating as the funeral is happening. which is, I shouldn't be laughing at this because it's a funeral. It's supposed to be a serious situation, but oh my God, it was so. And that's the reason why the comedy works, because it's something that you don't expect in that type of situation. If it's something that you expected, obviously it wouldn't be funny, but since you don't expect it, it's hilarious. Then as they're leaving, as everyone from the funeral is leaving, they start shaking Hulot's hand like he was part of the service, and then eventually he starts laughing. I don't know if it's because he realizes that the situation is funny because he's actually not in the funeral procession or what it is, but it's absolutely hilarious. There's another scene in the movie where everyone gets mad at him for playing loud music. So, I mean, this is a movie where a lot of the funny things happen because you don't expect it or because it's an uncomfortable situation and you just can't help but laugh at it. I thought that was great. Honestly, I thought it was funnier than any of the Buster Keaton movies I had seen. I do think Cameraman is a better movie, to be perfectly honest. But for this movie, that it doesn't really have a plot. It just moves for a movie to be able to just move from one funny thing to one funny thing to one funny thing. They really have to be funny scenes. They really have to capture your attention. They really have to make you laugh. And I thought this movie was funny all the way through. I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. There's even a scene later on with that guy who was just kind of the bookworm. He's just kind of reading the whole time, and he's just kind of mansplaining to his girlfriend what things mean. She ends up taking an attraction to Hulot, and they end up having a scene where for some reason they dress as pirates. Maybe I missed something. I'm not really sure if they were both convinced or told, or for some reason they thought this was a costume party. I don't know, but they're the only ones in costume and they're dancing. And everyone, of course, everyone around them is annoyed because they're playing loud music and because they're dancing and because they're going against the norm. People are upset because this is not what's supposed to happen during this vacation. The norm is being destroyed, and at first people are very upset about it. But I think towards the end of the movie, people actually start to like Hulot. They actually start to like the fact that he brought some levity and some ridiculousness to this vacation, and they're okay with him. I think at the end they actually like him. So that's basically the movie. Not a very long explanation because there's not a whole lot of plot. It's really just funny scenes in the movie that I wanted to share with everyone. And I really liked it. I really liked this movie. Like I said, I thought it was really funny. I kind of like movies that have plots, but The Navigator was a movie that I felt was trying to do this. It was trying to go from scene to scene. This is a Buster Keaton movie, The Navigator. It was trying to just go from scene to scene to scene without really having a solid plot line. And I thought The Navigator failed, wherein I think that this actually succeeds in what it's doing. It actually succeeds in going from scene to scene to scene and being funny. I thought it was a really good movie. This is, I think, the final movie that Jacques Tati is on the 100% Fresh list. I might go back and watch his other movies. I think he only had a handful of movies he did that he did. So I might go back and watch the rest of his movies later. But I quite enjoyed this movie. I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. The acting was good. I mean, Jacques Tati is really good at his physical comedy, and he has to be because that's what's carrying this movie. And the fact that he was able to direct and write and act in this movie, you have to give it to someone who can do that. Obviously, he's trying to follow in the footsteps of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. Honestly, I don't think anyone can touch Charlie Chaplin, especially after I watched the movie The Kid. I mean, and Gold Rush. Charlie Chaplin just has so much feeling, so much heart in his movies, and his movies are not only, I mean, they can be funny, but they just have so much feeling and so much emotion. They bring so much more out of you, I think, than anything that I saw that Buster Keaton did. And, I think that this movie is in line with that, but not as good. It does bring out certain feelings in you. Like, I can go back and think about holidays and vacations I had where I went to the beach and I saw this type of activity, but it doesn't really bring out that same emotion that The Kid did for one. The Kid for me is a perfect movie, and I haven't seen another director who can do that like Charlie Chaplin does. But Jacques Tati is definitely up there. I think that this movie was lovely. Like I said, the acting was really good. There's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. Now, normally I don't go off and research movies before I do a review, but I wanted to see if maybe this was intentional, and it was. He said that he wanted to make it seem like it was people who were really on vacation and people who were really on holiday, how they would really talk. And I think he did a good job here. I also think the tennis scenes where people were searching for the ball, everyone's in the same field searching for their ball, everything he does here really just makes it seem like this could really be a group of people on a holiday. It could really be just a group of people on vacation. And he's just trying to take that snapshot, put some comedy into it, and put it into a movie. And I think he did a really good job. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.